Now that was the first answer, okay? The second answer comes in verses 8 through 10. And he says this. And the word of the Lord came unto Zechariah, saying, Thus speaks the Lord of hosts, saying, Execute true judgment and show mercy. This really reflects back on what Isaiah said. And compassion every man to his brother. And oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, nor the poor. And let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart. But they refused to listen and pulled away the shoulder. You ever have somebody do that to you? They kind of pull away from you. That God put his hand on their shoulder and they pulled it away and they stopped their ears that they should not hear. You see, if the heart is right, the fast will be right. If the heart is wrong, the fast is wrong. It all depends on what's on the inside. Do we execute true judgment? Do we show mercy and compassion? Do we refrain from oppressing people? And do we keep from imagining evil against our brother? See, that's something that's really easy for us to fall into when we got people coming against us and people doing things. Man, the first thing we want to do is just imagine all the things we'd like to see happen to them. But if that's our motivation, if that's, there's a story, we just read it today in our devotions, a story in the book of Acts where those 40 guys said they were going to fast until they killed Paul. Remember that story? They wanted to kill the Apostle Paul. So they took an oath and they said, we're not going to eat until we kill Paul. That's the wrong reason to fast, to kill somebody. Okay, and they never did get a chance to do it anyhow. Let's read a little bit more here in this chapter, and then we'll go to the next chapter. It says this. They made their hearts, look at verse 12. They made their hearts as an adamant stone, lest they should hear the law and the words which the Lord of hosts has sent in his spirit by the former prophets. Therefore came a great wrath from the Lord of hosts. They didn't want to listen to God. They were going through the rituals. They were doing the religious stuff, but they didn't want to listen to God. When we fast and pray, it's so we could hear God. But what they were doing, God was trying to speak to them, and they weren't listening. Jesus told a story about fasting. Not a story, but he said, when you fast, what are you supposed to do? Don't tell anybody. Go fast, fix your hair, wipe your face, and go about your business. But, there's some folks, when they're fasting, they're sure to tell everybody, well, I'm fasting today. You offer them a donut, and instead of saying just, no thanks, they'll say, I'm fasting. Okay. Reading a little bit more. Verse 13. Therefore it has come to pass that as he cried, and they would not hear, so they cried, and I would not hear. See, when we play the religious games with God, it's dangerous. Because when God speaks to us and we don't listen, you know what? When we start speaking to him, he's not going to listen. He's not going to listen. If we're not going to listen to him, we're not going to listen to what he tells us anyhow. When we cry to him, he won't listen. Until we have a heart that's broken. Until we have a heart that's repentant, that we could cry out. And then he'll hear, and then he'll speak to us, and then we'll listen. God can break your heart enough that you'll listen to what he has to say. How many know what I'm talking about? Sometimes God got to do a whole lot of breaking before we start listening. I've been there. Therefore it's come to pass as he cried that they would not hear in verse 13. So they cried, and I would not hear, says the Lord. But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations whom they knew not. He spoke. They spoke to him and he didn't listen. He spoke to them and they didn't listen, and he wouldn't listen to them. He tried to gather them together and they would not. So they were scattered. The people didn't treat the land with respect, so God made the land desolate for 70 years. We reap what we sow. We reap what we sow. We're seeing it in our nation right now. We're reaping what we've sown as a people. We've cast God out of our schools and everything else in public life, and who do we have to vote for this year? Okay. We're getting what we really, and maybe not you or I personally asked for, but as a people, you get what you ask for. You get what you ask for, okay? Now, there's another